record and say, yo, what up? How's it going, man?
Oh, just working off a loss in the provisional.
Of course.
Looking towards a regional.
Of course. Working off the loss. First and foremost, hey, congratulations on making it as far as you did. I think you could have easily taken the whole thing. You were playing actually out of your gourd. If you didn't have that life event, I think you took down the whole thing, buddy. Truthfully.
Yeah, that's why I was confident in letting you go for it, because I didn't want to just. I was feeling good at the time. I felt like I'd finished what I wanted to with the tournament, and I couldn't finish it out. So
hell yeah. I mean, that's a victory, right? It's just reps. It's just practice for the big one in 2 weeks,
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Question mark.
It's gonna be the last time we play set 2, or at least I do.
Oh, you don't get to play in the online nationals?
Is online nationals set 2?
I'm pretty sure that's what I've heard, but I don't know if that's confirmed.
I have not heard a single thing about online nationals since it originally got posted like 5 months ago.
Hey, ain't that a quinky dink? Anywho, hit me with we got Kirishima too. This is the list that you played yesterday and the day before at the last provisional. The list that you beat the brakes off of me with game 1 and then conceded games 2 and 3. So hit me with the pitch. What's going on with the list?
All jokes aside, I've been playing this character off and on since he came out. I think I've played him at every major event since he's come out that I've gone to. He vibes with me. I like the character. I think I can take it further than other decks. I have some changes that I still want to make to it every time I play it in a tournament, but I wanted to get somebody else's opinion, and I thought it might be good content for you to take something that topped an event and try to doctor it.
Yeah. So there's the pitch. So what do you want help with? Like just looking at small things, or what are you thinking?
I think it has some cards that I'm not super happy with in the deck, and I'd like to slim it down some, but I don't really want to pull that trigger on some of them because they are useful in some cases.
Okay.
Like, a big offender of this is Sugar Rush Power Up. Like, I've played the deck with 8 actions, I've played the deck with no actions. I decided at 2 for this tournament. I played it a single time in 10 rounds.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Every other time, it either never got into my hand, or I just put it down with Kirishima to draw a different card.
I mean, that's just like a telltale sign to just take it out, right? Like, yeah. That just like with things like creepy, not necessarily one affecting your deck, and 2 like being that prevalent in the format. I think Sugar Rush is probably not what your deck needs. The best thing about Sugar Rush Power Up is honestly it's these words right here: +2 speed, because we could like take or leave the +4 damage because your deck just doesn't give speed. It's the only way to do it, right? Sans the
sometimes
so obvious from the board.
Sometimes I would put it down with the intention of picking it back up later if I could with Hardened Jab,
right.
But like it only really mattered if I was in the position to stun my opponent out, or they had overcommitted, which at that point it's kind of a win more card.
I completely agree.
The other ones that kind of I felt like are letting me down is surprisingly Manly Passionate Guy and Resistance.
And Resistance. As somebody who played against Resistance, 1 Resistance feels abysmal. 2 Resistance is very hard to push over. 3 Resistance says that you commit 3 foundations to negate an attack, which is like an insane rate.
Absolutely.
And so, like,
especially into the Deadlock Enhance on the quick creates.
Right. It's actually incredible how much this card stopped me from putting any amount of real pressure on you.
Because I had 2 copies down.
Yeah, this card was so good because especially versus like the deck of the format, right? The Momo deck that I played. I just took Kevin Broberg's list and I changed 4 cards in it and then I let it rock. This card says that my second poke of the turn, right? The instant shiny flash or the magnetic stomp, they come in for 0. And I have to do work to make them matter, and then you can do other things to make them not matter. So I completely and totally get this. With Manly Passionate Guy, I can feel it. I can see it. My biggest thing is like, what do you replace this 3 low block with? Right?
Nothing.
Glamorous? Question mark? Not a spam
That is
though.
something that I was thinking about.
Glamorous says you get
I've
to
been
reuse
craving.
your apathetics, which are
Yeah, I've been craving the unflip on it, but
uh,
I can't find the room in previous versions.
we're playing 4 forcing, 2 main, 2 side. You could just pop this up to a 3 of if you wanted to. Right? It's like to cut this down to 2, pop forcing up to 3, and then it gives you another sideboard slot. Let me just go look at low
Forcing
blocks. Let me go look at low blocks.
forcing surrender in my what I would do version of the deck, I put up to 4. It was the number 1 card I sided in for the
Okay.
day.
Then yeah, let's just take out the manly passionate guys. Right? How often, if you can keep track, how often did you trigger this card?
Maybe 2 or 3 times in 10 rounds.
Okay.
Because like I was super confident going up and blowing past deadlock in most matchups, which means I was just playing all of my foundations most early turns and not keeping one back to block with.
That is exactly how I felt about Cementos when I played the deck. This card went from a 4 of in my deck down to a 3 of, down to a 2 of. Now I would probably just play 1, truthfully, for like when it mattered, right? And it was a beautiful card that I felt I was allowed to side out, which I think is really important in decks. I think that you should have side bait. Trying to look. Any of these matter? No. Oh, excuse
But
me.
while you're looking at other stuff, forcing surrender, I just felt like it's techie into the Momo matchup, even though it's not the greatest thing ever to discard the stuff in their card pool. They just bring it back with quick create, but it can expend resources when they don't really want to. Especially
Correct.
if you're going to block the attack and they're trying to get something down, you can make them spend a second one. They get 2 more damage, but you're blocking it anyway. Kick it out. Or if they don't have another quick create, that's when you forcing surrender. But it's also really good against Tokoyami.
It is really good against Tokoyami.
And another card was Merciless Rush. I expected a lot more 7-hand sizers yesterday and the day before. There was like, what, 1 Tokoyami in the format? And very few other relevant 7-hand sizers, so at a 5 diff, I don't think Merciless Rush is all that great.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's look again. Huh. That's weird. And by weird, I mean cool.
In terms of deck size, I don't think I ever had a problem with how big it was, but it could use some trimming down just to see the better cards more often.
I will say though, like if you trimmed any further down, I think I got to deck you out. I think the only reason that I didn't get to deck you out is because you're actually playing the same number of cards as me, which is crazy. I got all the way through my deck and I'm like, yeah, and I looked and I'm like, he hasn't cycled yet. Wait a minute,
Yeah.
that's not what's supposed to happen. He was supposed to cycle 1.5 times by now. Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm not saying go down to like 60. I'm saying maybe like 67, 68.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think we can find 3 slots. Here's the stuff that I pulled out just to like put in your brain, right? I wanted to put childhood friendships on the table just to look and see what the choices we have to pick back up. Holy cow, this card was so good for me yesterday. This card felt absolutely fantastic every time that I found it on the board, and it was a beautiful side out card. I just was down to side it out. This card does
I've
not
looked
touch
at it.
this
It just
card.
doesn't hit very much in the deck
One,
because Kirishima
literally
only
one
shares
card.
1 symbol with his first version.
Okay, I guess this card's gone then. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
I love Glamorous and with what you got going on. It unflips honestly, it unflips anything because of Kirishima, right? You can just like slam a card down and then Glamorous and then pull it back up. if we do decide to go down to one Manly Passionate guy, it's the way we get to reuse the Manly Passionate guy and probably have more abilities on stuff. And also, it says that the Glamorous gets to mess with Momo, with whatever Momo's got going on. My first enhance is I'll destroy a foundation to give it -2 speed. I'll flip and give it +3. Oh, you actually netted a speed from your Glamorous. Okay. Interesting.
It's really just that it's a 2-diff in a deck that has a lot of 2-diffs already.
Totally, I completely agree. But I think it's gonna be hard pressed to find a low block slot to cancel out the Manly Passionate guys, besides the forcing surrenders that we're talking about, right? So like this could go down to 1. We could slam forcing all the way up to our 4, and then maybe we take the Glamorous and put them in the sideboard ? Because we now lost these 2 sideboard slots. These are just gone now. Yeah, our numbers here in the main deck are still good. Yeah, okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to the next one. I mean, for number 1, I think this card's really interesting. I think this card helps you with the long game of things. This card says that your opponent's back alley haymakers, if they decide not to build, actually makes them go -1. Same thing with the jabs. Any amount of like small amount of draw that they have. The only issue is the non-character ability, right? But like anything that lets you, like passing the torch says that they're fishing, right? You don't get to go the +1. You went even, right? This card canceling passing the torch might just be good enough. And then a response of like, after you draw a card, like discard the top, or I'll draw 2 cards. Like it might be what you need for the little bit of extra gas. This does make you an actual 8-hander, 8, 9, 10-hander with Kirishima. Like this card digs deep in your deck. But I don't know, man. It like we can't take out a different 3-diff. So like, I don't know what to put in. But I think this card is actually really good in Kirishima to go for the late games, right?
My problem with the card is I would want to sideboard it, and then sideboarding a 1-of, hoping that it shows up when you want it, is just kind of silly.
That's fair. To the attacks to take out Merciless Rush, I think you should leave in at least 1 Merciless Rush mainboarded. I think having the 1-of is totally fine.
My brain said 2.
Brain said 2? Perfect. Yeah. I think Leaping Right Hook is a fine as your low block, or if we're leaving in double Merciless Rush, Howitzer Impact Cyclone keeps that same low block, and it does something really interesting. And it says it's a bunch of extra draw, like a bunch, right, for whatever momentum you have, and it combos with 1, 2, 3, 4 different attacks in your deck, right? Because Hellflame has Fury. It just doesn't combo with Jab, Chopper, Haymaker, which I get are good, but like it's totally fine for you to go like Haymaker into Javelin into Impact Cyclone and then just try and blow them up, right?
I have tried Impact Cyclone in the deck before, not with this suite of attacks, but even when I got it off, like it didn't feel like it was doing a ton.
Okay.
And especially going through the 10 rounds over the weekend, the only times I had momentum were against people that I was confident I was going to beat anyway. The people that I was struggling to get momentum on are the ones that I was having trouble with, and Howitzer isn't going to help me there.
You certainly had 2 momentum against me on your kill turn, but I will say you're double pull the punches. I will.
Yeah.
You definitely EX2'd me for game, or yeah, EX forward. Next one is Crone Frog. This is just a good ass card, right? Like it's a good poke. It's a good combo string. You're not playing any it's just a good flow card. Excuse me, I shouldn't use the word combo because you're not playing any combo requirements, right? You're not playing Texas, and so like you don't need this spot. And the last one is High Engine Kick. It has the magic speed stat, right? Making this is a 4-diff 8 high for 6 in your character that cycles 2 cards if you want it to, and like that's like it's 8 high for 6 plus whatever. I guess it doesn't get from Homage. Sorry, 8 high for 6 that you just get like it's just a beautiful poke. Kind of does the same-ish job as Rush of like being a good poke, but as opposed to being a 5 diff, it's a 4 diff all the time. But this card is more disruption as opposed to this card is just like trying to be aggressive. Just I don't exactly know what it is that you're looking for there, you know? I think those are my only suggestions for attacks. Be like Leaping Right Hook. Probably the card, but it only does 4 damage. It's a 5 high for 4. That draws you a card. Has a decent deadlock ability. +2/+4 is very good.
I think Leaping Right Hook is actually a interesting thing that I hadn't considered before. I mean, Crow and Frog I hadn't really considered before either. My big problem with Crow and Frog is it's a 5 diff, and you don't get the free damage off homage with it.
True.
But at the same time, that means you're not... If you just check a 5 with Crow and Frog, you're not encouraged to Kirishima it just to get the homages on.
Right. Yeah. And it feels like it feels like you don't have to, as long as you check the 5, right? But it is the 5 diff. Man, maybe Leaping Right Hook is the correct one, right? But the question is like how many, especially since we're like trying to slim this number down, right? Because like we're slimming this down, which means we actually have to cut attacks. Maybe the real answer is let's just cut 1 Merciless and we don't replace it with anything, right? Let's put this thing to 24 attacks and then like cut 2 foundations, and then be good.
I'm actually thinking it sounds good to just put in Leaping Right Hook over Merciless Rush, because what I really want there is a 4 diff.
Okay, sure.
It's still a low block. It still hits the keywords.
Put that in the sideboard to at least hold on to it. It also keeps the attack zone, which was very good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm thinking we keep it at the 2 number if we want to cut this thing down. If you're down to play the 71 cards again, the obvious answer is just to kick this back up, right? Because of these numbers here, I think these are the only cards we're allowed to cut. I don't think I'm allowed to touch these numbers at all.
I think that is deceptively okay with those ratios, though, because of Faith Shield.
I don't disagree with you.
Because it's a lot more balanced on my attacks than it is on my foundations. The high swing, on top of being relatively good in the meta, is mostly just from foundations that I would never want to block with anyway. Like 3 super regens you're never going to block with, 4 apathetics you're never going to want to block with.
Right.
Like the only foundations that I want to block high with are going to be It Can't Be Fixed and Hardens.
Right. Yeah. I will say one of the big things that you miss out of losing mainly passionate guys is the trap card of being able to build pull no punches on your opponent's turn while they're attacking.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing you're actually losing with mainly passionate guy going down here. Is the answer just like cut the double sugar rush and just like let it be? Right?
Oh, I definitely cut the double sugar rush. If anything, I'd sideboard it.
We hit the gamer number and then be good?
The double sugar rush might find its way back into sideboard, but
that's I think that's fine because we cut 2 sideboard pieces, right? Like I tried to slot it with Glamorous, and
I don't think he ever touched the first 6 cards in my sideboard right now. So learning up it's the first 6 on your screen too.
Learning Your Obvious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think these cards are nuts. At bare minimum, you could, if you were trying to fit something cool, you could put Learning into a 3 of, just because like Hatsume is not in the format. But like, this card's really good at stopping Momo from doing degenerate things, right?
Yeah, it's good at stopping Momo. It's good at stopping Jiro. It's good against Ochako 1 and even Tokoyami. It's really good against to make it so.
Oh, right.
Well, it's less great against Tokoyami because they can just play a second action right away. Or no, it's a response.
No, it's a response after damage. They have to play a non-thing, so they eat the check for sure.
Yeah, the 2 cards that Learning the Standard doesn't like to see is going to be the the Luck reprint.
Right.
And a lesser played card right now because the symbols are kind of not great. The Go for the Win. Go for the Win is really saucy into learning the standards.
I completely agree. It was one of my favorite things to do as a Todoroki 1. Was go for the Win. My question for you is, how do I fit one Glamorous into your main board? Just one.
Take out a Super Regen.
It's either Super Regen or Harden, right? Do you think Harden is better than Super Regen?
Harden got me a number of different wins over the weekend on offense and defense.
Just because of that +3 damage?
+3.
I know I personally disrespect this, but you're also playing the full suite, right? You got 12 cards that this thing just like pops off. Because it's +5 damage in your character if you want it to be. Because it's a free commit when you check well. So like, I
Absolutely.
totally get it.
When you start with Harden Chop, you commit it after checking a 5, and you have something committed to blow up and re-ready.
Yeah, let's actually, you know what? Let's make it Super Regen, because at worst case, this Glamorous is like an extra copy of Super Regen, right? With the biggest asterisks ever.
Super Regen, I was only really desperate to find against the Flash Eijiro deck.
Do you think it's maybe just like not even worth it, and we find different cards?
I've been super back and forth on Super Regen while playing Kirishima. Like, it feels like it's a deterrent, but at the same time, like, I'd rather see almost any other card in my hand in most matchups.
I don't think that Super Gen is going to be that impactful. We could easily take this and replace it for one more resistance, one more manly passionate guy, just to like push those numbers back up a little higher. It gives you 2 more spam to build out, and this card does that card's same job and stops spam, and stops stun, excuse me, and like gives you a better chance to find two at once, right? Because like, once again, resistance all by its lonesome, it's a card that wants to be played in pairs, right? It's on the picture itself. You don't want 1 resistance, you want 2. As soon as you have 2, you feel really, really safe. So it just gives you like a second option to do it, and it's just like repeatable -2 damage over and over and over again, or it's repeatable. I'll commit 2 of these and end my opponent's attacks phase, right? Which means I don't lose a block, which means I don't have to deal with the pressure. It means I don't have an extra check. I get to play my deck as pure and goldfishy as possible, right? Yeah, I'm a big fan of resistance, and I'm kind of a Super Regen hater, but I can tell you that Super Regen did put in work in our match, right?
I hadn't really thought about them really being in the same position. I think I like resistance over Super Regen, even if it were a 4-0 versus a 0.
You would rather have resistance over Super Regen, so we could put this to a 3 and drop this down to a 1. And then if you want to take out the Super Regen altogether, which I think you should, what would you want to replace it with? Just another resistance?
Probably another Glamorous.
Another Glamorous? I'm in. And this does really selfish things for me because it makes these numbers look better.
Can you actually go to the graph real quick?
The graph.
And look at the graph tab. It will show a number of spams. If you look at difficulty,
yeah.
0s.
7 and 15.
So 22 out of how many foundations? 40 something?
44.
So that's exactly half my foundations are spam. I like that numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think this is tweaked just enough, actually.
I might tweak a couple more of the numbers, but
I think this is a totally fine, good jumping off point, though, for sure.
Yeah. The only other thing I want to say before you cut to the next person is, I had cut new training method altogether in some versions of the deck, but boy did I really crave to find that card in a lot of matchups over the weekend in my opening hand. Just being able to build 4 even against I keep forgetting what that card's called.
Ready, get, set, go.
Yeah. Being able to build 4 into characters that are playing 4 copies of that is so important.
Completely agreed. There were so many times this weekend that I would have that people played around that card that it actually like it's interesting because that card is such mind games for both opponents, right? They see that I'm playing the life symbol, the air symbol, the earth symbol, and so they build 3 pass, and then I have this one in my hand, and I can either choose to review it to tell them that they did a good job and they read it, or I can choose to keep it and hold a 1 high block, right? Which 9 times out of 10, I just held it, so that if next turn they decided to build again, I just play it and jam my cards back out. But then, like, conversely, your new training method says that you never have to play into that card ever, right? But if you do play into my card and I have new training method as well, I just blow you out. Like, I don't know how you lose that game.
Don't draw attacks for 5 turns. Correct. I have lost that game.
Yeah, it is. This card is insane. This card definitely deserves the stats that it has. Probably could have even had like a 3 high block in it. It would have been fine. Still played it at 3, if not 4.
I also just love picking up face shields with it.
Well, this is a different discussion. This card should be gone, but
yeah, it should.
Yeah, or at least it shouldn't have life in water. But I digress. That's not what we're here for. Yeah, man, I dig this. I think this is really, really cool. Let me know how you like the one manly. I think this is that's like really spicy tech, and it's probably where manly should probably be at from now on. It just depends on how much like clogging decks work. But with this card already like clearing itself, and like your ability to like redo things, like this is the card you want to block with, right? This is the best block that you have. Maybe on symbols like good and void, this card has more value because it doesn't have things like Faith Shield. It doesn't have things like forcing surrender, right, to clear that block. Because this is kind of like 4 more copies of Manly Passionate Guide, just like you just don't get the build, and this is
or your best blocks being attacks.
Right, very much so, very much so. All right, man. I dig it. I think this list is sweet.
I feel like I got quite a bit out of discussing it with you.
Hell yeah, man. I'd love to hear. I'm gonna refresh because I'm pretty sure. Oh, I didn't put the sugar rush back in the sideboard, but I'm sure that you'll remember that it's
not a big deal.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, let me shoot you the deck list, and you have a good rest of your day. Okay.
All right. See you in 2 weeks.
All right. See you in 2 weeks.
Well, hopefully not actually in rounds. You know.
Correct. In top cuts. Just top cuts.
Finals.
Finals. There it is. All right. Peace, man.
Thanks.